Hey guys, so today I want to talk about what's been happening in the world of Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube as well. And the focus of today is going to be a few topics, and I'm going to give some analysis that I haven't seen mentioned elsewhere. So the first is the limitations to the API with both Reddit and Twitter, both at the same seemingly almost following each other in this. So what they're doing is they're making it limited to where programmers and people who are trying to do third-party searches, is rate limiting has also been added. What this does is it prevents people from being able to use a third party to actually search for information. And I want to talk about the major implications here and what it may lead to today. So we're going to talk about this and also how it's going to affect things like Knitter, which it already has been affecting Knitter, as we can see, because of the rate limiting and the fact that Twitter has also blocked the ability to search, view tweets, unless you're logged in. Now, there's a few implications of this. This will make it easier to basically track what individuals are searching for, because if you have to have an account, you're obviously going to have all searches aligned with that account, or you're not going to be doing any searching. Now, with front ends, I've covered front ends. Check out the public blog at buymeacoffee.com/politictech/posts, and you can see my tutorials on front ends. I've done tutorials on front ends for YouTube, which is called Invidious. I've done tutorials on using Knitter, which is a front end for Twitter, and Teddit is a front end for Reddit. Now, they're all having issues right now because of the fact that there has been major rate limits imposed, as well as the lack of access to search posts from a third party, and also not being able to search using a not logged in account. And so these applications depend on the ability to search using a third party and not the actual logged in account. And that helps to anonymously, so these front ends, what they do is they allow you to anonymously browse, search, and view posts on these platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit. And by allowing that access, people can privately and anonymously search for topics. And I think this is actually going to really hurt Twitter. Over on the Knitter, the Twitter front end page, we're seeing "Rest in Peace Knitter." Now, this is very sad, and this all is due to Twitter's imposition of rate limiting and the inability to use third-party access to view and scrape the posts on Twitter. Real walled garden approach, and it's caused the effect of breaking Knitter. And we're going to be seeing this more and more, I predict, as well as they mentioned that it is for their advertising revenue. But I want to talk about what it really could relate to. And what it really could relate to, and possibly not, but this is going to open the door to block shadow banning detection. So you're not going to be able to detect if you're shadow banned. And what is shadow banning? Shadow banning is where your posts are either amplified or de-amplified. In the case of shadow banning, you'd be de-amplified, meaning that less people would be able to see your posts and your account. Now, by blocking this third-party access, what they have actually done is they've broken shadow banning detection. Now, it does appear to be working at the moment, but just yesterday it was broken. And the more these kinds of restrictions are imposed on Twitter, on Reddit, on any other platform, you're going to see a problem with telling if people are shadow banned at all. And I'm going to talk about something another developer has mentioned, George Hotz. So he's also talked about something, the other side of shadow banning. Now, what is the other side of shadow banning? Well, this is known as Heavenbanning. And what this does is it actually has AI bots that interact with you. So you think your posts are being seen by people, but at the same time, you're actually talking to bots and you don't realize it. And you also with this rate limiting and other factors, we also can't detect it in normal circumstances because you have to be a logged in account. And in the past where shadow banning occurred, even if you're logged in, you can't detect your own shadow banning. So of course your own stuff is going to show up. But if you try and search using a third party to verify this, your post would not occur. And because of the changes to Twitter and other platforms, we're going to be seeing it much more difficult to detect if things like this are being implemented. So let's listen to George Hotz himself explain what is Heavenbanning, how this is going to harm your ability to even know if you're heaven banned, shadow banned, or anything else. You're not going to be able to detect the manipulation. That is one of the biggest implications in my eyes of the changes to Twitter and other platforms. So let's go ahead and take a listen to George Hotz talk about what is heaven banning.
What it means to be human is just going to start to get weird.
Especially online. Like, how do you know? Like, there'll be moments when you'll have what you think is a real human you interacted with on Twitter for years, and you realize it's not.
I love this meme. Heaven banning?
Mm-hmm.
You know what shadow banning?
Yeah.
Shadow banning, okay, you post, no one can see it. Heaven banning, you post, no one can see it, but a whole lot of AIs are spun up to interact with you.
Well, maybe that's what the way human civilization ends, is all of us heaven banned.
And so that's George Hotz on what is heaven banning. So as you can see, heaven banning creates an environment where you think your account is working just fine. You think you have visibility on whatever platform we're speaking on. And with this new changes, you're not going to be able to detect this kind of thing. And so if this type of restriction breaks all the third-party scraping, breaks all the other ways to access the posts, well, what you're going to have there is a perfect storm for those who may have interest in implementing something like heaven banning. And so we may see further manipulation of our feeds for those who have an account. And you may not have any way of detecting, at least through normal means, if your posts are being visible to others. So your post may be visible to a certain segment or group. Now, your post may not be visible to the greater public, and your post may be visible, say, to a few people that share your interests, and your posts will also be visible and interacted with by these AI bots, and they will give you the visual of actually having an active account that is seen by everyone. Because you're still being interacted with, you're having conversations, but you don't know you're wasting all your time interacting with these AI bots. And so that is a true echo chamber where you're literally just talking to yourself, and these AI bots, of course, are interacting with you to give you the impression that your account is still visible. And so this is one of the biggest things I see as a problem with these restrictions. Now, of course, the privacy problem, the anonymity issue here is huge as well. But the fact that this type of disabled access is going to prevent people from even knowing if they're being manipulated on these platforms. And to me, that's the biggest problem, and probably going to lead to more problems in the future. And so I think we're going to see this more. And of course, shadow ban detection is showing as working today, but the last week it has not been working at all. And there is rate limiting implemented. And so even if they do get it to work under an account or otherwise, there's going to be issues there if things are manipulated. Whatever user is doing the searching, since it's restricted to logged in users now, that is only going to retrieve what that particular account can see. And so if you are heaven banned, you may still not have an accurate result on shadow ban detection. And so I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. The real issue with all these restrictions is not only the privacy anonymity, but it's also the inability to detect massive manipulation of the feed. And I hope it's not a sign that that's where we're headed, because this opens the door to that as a big opportunity in order to increase revenue and also to segment populations into different groups who may be able to interact with their group or their flock. They may only be interacting with AI bots. So we're not going to be able to detect this if things become blocked long term. There's going to be issues there, and I really wanted to do this video today because I hadn't heard anyone talk about this type of effect of this type of rate limiting and restriction to logged in accounts, because any account logged in may have limited access. So that may not be a reliable way to even search for if something is shadow banned or heaven banned or whatnot. That's what I want to talk about today, guys. Make sure to follow me over on Mastodon. Mastodon is a great decentralized platform. It is similar to some of the other platforms we talked about today, but it does not use that type of feed manipulation that could be happening. And I'm not claiming that they are manipulating feeds. I'm just saying that this has opened the door for feed manipulation without detection. So that's what I have today, guys. Make sure to follow here, follow over at the blog as well. Follow over at buymeacoffee.com/politictech/posts, and you can follow for free over there. Make sure to share this video to help inform others. It helps the channel a lot. By reposting links to these videos, you're actually helping move this channel up in the search results. And I will be back later with more on how to protect your security, privacy, and open source.